Hello everybody, it's Wyvern here with another bit of Total War Warhammer 2 quick match gameplay. This time around, the Dark Elves are invading the Tower of Hoeth, and the High Elves have lined up to face off against them. So it's going to be a bit of an ancient grudge match here, with us taking control of the Dark Elves. And well, it's a pretty interesting matchup, High Elves against Dark Elves. Personally, I've always felt it's a little bit skewed in the High Elves' favor. I've seen a lot of people telling me that I'm wrong and that it's in fact skewed in the Dark Elves' favor. Makes me think the match is probably fairly balanced, but there's a lot of things both players can do. There's just so many possibilities basically you have to prepare for. And so I figured, let's go really wide. Let's bring a Bolt Thrower as a bit of a contingency plan against especially Lyrian Reavers, and get some decently cheap cav, some decent front line, and a few units for staying power. So going over the build for my Lord and Lady here, well, we're bringing the Supreme Sorceress of Shadows. She looks awesome on her, well, not so awesome looking horse here. It's almost a skeleton steed, really. But obviously, I figured Supreme Sorceress is very cheap, lets you field a very wide army, and with Penumbral Pendulum, with the Orange Ripple's Black Horror, you can do a lot of damage in a line fight. Plus, you do have Enfeebling Foe as well as Mental Cost Miasma to add additional damage or help your troops win at a specific point. For our front line, well, not much to be said. It's the Helibroni, the Regiment Around Dread Spears with Charge Defense First All, as well as Poison and really solid melee stats. 2 units of Dread Spears on either end here. And then for sort of main damage dealers, 2 Sisters of Slaughter as well as the Sisters of the Singing Doom. Looking to bunker bust through whatever front line my opponent has. Kind of figured he might bring a decent amount of shooting, and I thought that it would be good to sort of bust through quickly with the help of Sisters and the Sisters of the Singing Doom here. Because these guys do cause terror, which is really nice for those quick pushes. And of course, the damage output against squishy targets is really good for Sisters of Slaughter and Witch Elves. And on top of that, Sisters of Slaughter are actually respectable against most heavily armored infantry too, just because their melee defense is so high that it takes forever to kill. On either flank, we do have Cold One Knights alongside the Doomfire Warlocks. On this flank over here, it is the Regiment of Renowned Slaanishes Harvesters. These guys do have Word of Pain, which is a nice bound ability, and Soul Stealer. Basically the same thing on this side, though normal Doomfire Warlocks have the good old Soul Blight as well as Lesser Doom Bolt. And the Soul Blight really helps. If you're fighting Dragon Princes or something like that, it can really make them a lot weaker, make it much easier for your Cold One Knights to do damage. And do keep in mind, Cold One Knights, even AP units, they have a decent chunk of non-AP damage. So in this case, they've actually got 12 non-AP, so reducing armor by 30 is still helpful. Now for my opponent, here in the woods, he has actually deployed a whole cavalry contingent. He's got a Lyrian Reaver cav, as well as 2 units of Silver Helms, which is an interesting pick, probably looking to run over Sisters of Slaughter and shooting easily with them, and then a Noble in there as well. But of course, the mainstay here, the main line, is these massive infantry, and for that, my opponent did bring a Lariel. She's unmounted on a horse, not much to be said there. She's got a usual selection of abilities. Stave of Avalon, which you don't see very often ever since it got nerfed, but still useful item there. Star of Avalon, Crazy Heals, Arcane Conduit, Earthblood, as well as Frost Protection are all in there, and she does have Shield of Saffron and Life Bloom to get those spammy buffs. For his main line, my opponent does have 2 units of Lothan Seaguard, as well as some spears deployed in the front, backed by 4 units of White Lions, and these guys will just dumpster my spears if they get the chance to fight them. Not going to do too hot against the Sisters, though, and the Witch Elves. And we're definitely, with our buffs and debuffs, we'll hopefully be able to take on them. And then some Spearmen on either flank here, so even more sting power, and a single unit Phoenix Guard to apply some additional damage. Interestingly enough, Lariel did not bring her physical resistance buff, so these Phoenix Guard are not going to be sort of doomboxing with her. And they've only got 30% base physical resist, and I say only, it's actually still quite a lot. Now, over here, our 2 sort of flank forces, both thinking they're very sneaky, are about to find out they're very not sneaky as they run into each other here in the woods. Initially, I swung in with my Doomfire Warlocks, realized, what the hell, there's 2 Silver Helms there, and now we're running for dear life. And fearing that these were actually Lyrian Reavers that were going to catch me, we're actually going to charge in here with the Cold One Knights, looking to pin them in place. Cold One Knights will dumpster Silver Helms pretty handily, and you can see there we are going to drop Soul Blight. My opponent missed his charge, so he's not getting value out of that, and these guys are having a really, really bad time. In the front line, in the meantime, the Lothan Seaguard, they're unloading on my Dread Spears. My opponent probably focusing on this cavalry engagement on the flank, and because of that, he missed the charges here. The Sisters of Slaughter get into the fray, and they are on top of the Lothan Seaguard, which is a terrible fight for these High Elf Marines that are just really not getting it out for this sort of fight. They're going to get dumpstered, and they're getting shredded very, very quickly. Anytime my opponent is committing into this front line, he finally noticed that things were going south. You can see my cav swing around to this flank to help, so looking to win that cav fight early. And over here, we're going to drop a nice Penumbral Pendulum on this blob of infantry. And you can see it's going to come swinging down, scything through these white lines, doing some damage even to this portion of the line as well, and destroying those Lothan Seaguard too, though. Unfortunately, not as much damage as I really had hoped. Elsewhere in the meantime, though, you can see Spears here being buffed by a Star of Avalorn, but against the Sisters of the Singing Doom as well as the Hellbroni, this is not a good fight for them. They are going to last, well, not very long. In the meantime, over here, the Bolt Thrower chipping away at the Phoenix Guard with single shot because I just wanted to get these guys off the field, and you want the model kills. Against Solariel who can heal, you want to get rid of models. You don't give a damn about how much HP damage you do. So the bolts are going to fly in there. They pierce, and well, I guess they don't pierce, but they do a bit of damage here and there, and definitely whittling those Phoenix Guard down. Elsewhere in the meantime, here in the pits, it is a slugfest of epic proportions. Cold One Knights slaughtering it out with the Noble. The Silver Helms are routed, and being this close to the map edge, they are going to flee completely. Murderous Prowess has gone off now. You can see a Soul Stealer does go down here, helping heal up our Slunish's Harvesters a little bit. And the Noble takes quite a bit of damage there as well, so we're trying to tear him down, bring him down to size, and rout him off. Elsewhere in the meantime, you can see the Spears here buckled, and of course, that was to be expected. They just couldn't hold against White Lions. There's not much to be said there. So the Sisters of Slaughter here are going to commit. They're going to try to bog down these White Lions. On the charge, the White Lions will do all right, but the Sisters of Slaughter should be able to win in the long engagement, especially with Murderous Prowess procced right now. Plus, as they start losing when they engage, they do get the proc from the Trial of Blades, which gives them some additional damage output. Over here, you can see it is a bit, well, it's a bit of a back and forth pit fight. Over here, we did hit this pocket with our Dripple's Black Horror, which did some decent damage to these troops, the Phoenix Guard especially, who are down to 45 models. Over here, the Dread Spears just holding their own, and that's really the main point here. The Dread Spears, and at this point, the Sisters of Slaughter just holding down my opponent, preventing him from pushing through, and buying me the time I need to win this cav fight. Unfortunately, over here, I do make what is perhaps a bit of a misplay. I left the Cold One Knights in the fight here against the Noble. Initially, I left them in there alongside the Doomfire Warlocks, but then I realized, you know what, screw this, it's a waste of my time, and I'm actually going to pull my Doomfire Warlocks away and leave the Cold One Knights hoping to deal with the Noble. But unfortunately, it actually doesn't work out. The Noble here managed to win out. He's going to start smacking on these guys and tears them a new one. So these Cold One Knights are about to have a very bad day as they get abandoned by their friends, though I guess that's very Dark Elfy. In the meantime, with the Spears, my opponent definitely had a lot of this cheap chaff, so the Spears are pushing through and pressuring me, and I'm trying to just intercept them here with my own Dread Spears. Over here, the Legion Weavers pushing in against my artillery piece, which has been chipping away at their model count for a while now. And you can see here, Cold One Knights jumping out of the woodwork, able to overrun those White Lines very, very quickly. This is the health unit. Doombolt goes in, smacks these blobbed up White Lines, and we're going to get a meaty rear charge here just to destroy them. And Cold One Knights, with their recent changes, are actually a really good sustained combat unit. They've got 32 melee attack, which is just nuts. And they cause fear. On top of that, of course, the terror from the Sisters of the Singing Doom is going to kick in, and all these troops are going to start buckling in. Sure, High Elves have great leadership, but it's just not enough. We also dropped a Soul Blight, making our Sisters as well as Spears, and the Doomfire Warlocks that much more effective against all these troops, and the line is buckling. Sisters of Slaughter in the meantime being used to clear up these White Lines over here. My opponent, with the help of the Silver Helms, managed to mop up my pocket of Cold One Knights over there, which definitely sucks for me, but by and large, the balance of power is starting to swing decisively in the good guys' favor, and we're definitely going to be smushing some High Elves here. So you can see the last pocket here of Phoenix Guard holding their own. Phoenix Guard, of course, is absolutely brutal. They've got, even debuffed like this, they still have 36 melee defense. It's absolutely bonkers, and that's what the Sisters of Singing Doom in there, debuffing them and like everything going wrong. They're still holding okay. They don't have murders or martial prowess or mastery or anything. They do finally tear out though, because my opponent did not bring the immunity psychology and Ilarial. Once again, one of those things that can sometimes come in useful, and they just didn't have it. And Doomfire Warlocks here are just going to sort of mop up, swing over here, go after these Spearmen while the Slunish's Harvester charge into the Lothan Seaguard over there. Now, my opponent does actually notice this in time. He sort of swings around to engage, but it's a little too late. The Lothan Seaguard get run over. Doomfire Warlocks are in the midst of them, striking them down with their foul sorcery, and they're just going to destroy these guys. And Lothan Seaguard obviously anti-large, but just it doesn't really matter against Doomfire Warlocks. And the Bolt Thrower still chipping away, sniping away at this Noble, who's now down to 1100 HP. The Sisters of Slaughter there slugged it out with the Silver Helms and forced them to rout, so that was a good little break for us. And the Cold One Knights have just finished slaughtering the Spearmen. They are going to swing around to engage this Noble, and at this point, these guys still almost full HP, 35 models left, 77 kills. They're going to get the engage here on the Noble. The Bolt Thrower is still firing away. Bit of a misplay there on my part, probably risking friendly fire, but of course that's how Dark Elves roll. And with the Phoenix Guard removed from play, with this last pocket being my opponent's last vestige of hope, it is going to be the end, the grim end for the poor High Elves. And we're just going to charge in there and start slaughtering them. And that's going to be a Pyrrhic victory for the Dark Elves. So definitely bit of a brutal game. A lot of units just annihilated the men. The leadership of both factions is very high, and so you don't tend to see very much routing going on from either High Elves or Dark Elves. It's kind of fighting to the bitter end. I guess it makes sense given the two factions' history, but definitely you can see the way the factions ended up here. My Dread Spears basically wiped out the man. The Sisters of Slaughter and the Cold One Eyes literally wiped out the man. The Sisters of Slaughter almost wiped out the man. For my opponent, multiple White Lions and Spears and the Phoenix Guard and Lothman, almost all of his units actually wiped out the man before losses kicked in. And yeah, now as far as builds go, I do think this was a pretty solid one. I really do like the Supreme Sorcerer's Shadow. I think Penumbral Pendulum is a good counter to High Elf line fighting. I also like Orange Ripple's Black Horror a lot. I think it's actually a pretty nasty spell to use against lines of infantry. You can really smoke archers with it. You can destroy units like White Lions and Phoenix Guard. It's just a really nice spell. Plus, it looks awesome, though unfortunately kind of missed it in this game. As for the rest of it, well, going wide I think is good against High Elves. My opponent actually did out-wide me here, but I think going wide is nifty just to get the ability to get surround. If your opponent goes with a super shooting heavy build, which some High Elf players do, being able to get the surround, having those silver shields soak up shots is just so very, very nice. Sister of Slaughter, Sister of Sting and Doom, both very good units in this match as well. Definitely if your opponent goes Swordmaster heavy, it might not go that nicely. They'll probably get slaughtered. But if that happens, you definitely want to you got to play your cards right. Probably drop an Enfeebling Foe. Try to deal with like one pocket of Swordmasters. Perhaps take advantage of the debuffs on Slaash Harvesters, that sort of stuff. And it'll work out okay. Swordmasters are definitely pretty flimsy. They're definitely pretty flimsy units. So with Cold One Eyes, you can get some meaty charges in there, do some damage that way, and get some debuffs from your Doomfire Warlocks and that sort of stuff. And things can still work out just fine. Reaver Bolt Thrower actually netting some good value here. Really chipping down this Phoenix Guard. I think he knocked off about 15 models on him before they even made it into the fight, which is good. That's stuff that Alarielle can't heal. Every little bit of damage you can do is nice. So yeah, all in all, I think this is a pretty solid build. For my opponent, personally, I'm not a big fan of Silver Helms in this matchup. I think you're better off with Dragon Princes. Silver Helms, because of how badly they get dumpstered by Cold One Knights, I think, and the fact that Dark Elves are not likely to bring much of a backline, I think it's better to just go expensive, bring the Dragon Princes. They'll trade okay against Cold One Knights, and for the cost, they'll win, but cost effectively, I think it's just not quite cost effective. Maybe throw Fireborn in there. Now, obviously, Dark Elves can bring Spirit Leech, which can ruin your day. So there's going to be a bit of give and take there. But still, I think it's the better way to go. Otherwise, I don't actually think this is that bad of a build. Personally, I'm like not the biggest fan of more elite infantry. I generally sort of forget the White Lions, forget the Phoenix Guard, and go with like massive spears and shooting. But definitely, this isn't necessarily a bad build. Definitely, it can work. Perhaps giving Alarielle the physical resist AoE, ditching the Stave of Avalorn, maybe something like that would be helpful. Perhaps maybe a few more Illyrian Reaver archers as well, just to harass, because Dark Elves don't have good counters to the Illyrian Reavers. They don't have the range to match them with anything except bolt throwers, which take forever to kill them. And they're like Cav, even if they do come to grips with Illyrian Reavers, barring Slaash Harvesters or Doomfire Warlocks, is not going to be able to mop up Illyrian Reavers. So that's something worth keeping in mind. Regardless, we'll play to Ryan CA over here. I do hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you found it entertaining and fun. If you did, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and share. If you have any comments, any criticism, any questions, do not hesitate to post them, and I will do my best to respond as soon as I can. I do thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye for now.